Investment in the Queen's Parade area of Bangor is critical to the regeneration of the town. Having been appointed to develop the Queen's Parade site in May 2019, Bangor Marine Limited submitted a planning application to Ards and Northdown Borough Council in January 2020. After extensive review, the application was approved by the Council's Planning Committee in January 2021. Because approval was granted for this major project, despite an objection from DFI Rivers, the Council was legally required to notify the Department for Infrastructure's planning section. The Department told the Council in February 2021 that it could not grant the planning permission as the Department needed to review the decision for any regional impacts. It is now 1 year on, and the Department has made no further determination on the application. This delay is extremely detrimental to residents, businesses and potential investors in Bangor. In this video, the developer and the Council explain the current issues and the request to the Infrastructure Minister to resolve the impasse and allow this much needed development to proceed.
Well, we're in limbo. We had lots of momentum built up. We were all ready to go and things were starting to fall into place. But unfortunately, this delay caused by DFI has meant that everything is ground to a halt. We were put through a rigorous process by the Council in terms of getting planning permission. Every single detail was looked into, and now we're waiting for DFI to make a decision on what we understand to be one issue, and we see no reason for that single issue to hold up planning. In this development, we're in a three-way development agreement with the Council and the Department for Communities. And we've been meeting and pushing hard through those bodies to make things happen. The Council and DFC have done a great job in pushing that. We found out in the summertime that the issue really was around the possible flooding of Clandyboy Lake into our site. The modelling that we got to see was clearly wrong. It was showing a vast area of the site getting flooded. So we challenged the DFI Rivers model, provided them with additional information, and DFI Rivers come back and amended their position regarding the flooding. This vastly reduced the amount of flooding on the site, but sadly DFI still held their position that because there was still a small amount of flooding on it, that they couldn't change their overall position. So I did an interview in November with the local paper, and I just set down exactly the facts as how things are. And since then there has been some significant movement with and great support coming from people, coming from MLAs and our councillors and the council itself. However, we're just not getting enough traction, we're not getting enough movement from DFI planning and the department. And we feel it's just time to go, right people, it's time to speak up, let your feelings be known, and put some more pressure on to see if we can get this project over the line for Bangor.
Yeah, we don't want people in Bangor to be concerned in relation to the flood risk. We're not privy to actually the information that they've got and why they came to that decision, but we're assuming that this is all based on a potential modelling that they have as opposed to an actual probability of the risk of flooding. And we would assume that if there was real danger to the people in Bangor, that the government would have acted by now and they would have called an emergency planning meeting, and we would all know of that. So in relation to planning, we as the local planning authority really put the developer through the rigour over the year. We considered all of the planning policies, and we did it mindful of the flooding policy. It's called FLD5. Planners are very aware of all of that, and they did the process. It's called a weighting and balance process. So we have to take the advice of DFI Rivers, but we have to weigh it. And the planners did that, and they believe that the economic and the social and the environmental benefits that this scheme brings outweigh the non-compliance with the planning policy in this case. So DFI Planning would do this themselves if they were looking at the application. They'd be aware that this is what planners do. I should also point out that the actual site had planning permission till quite recently for a scheme pretty similar to this, and DFI Rivers nor DFI Planning objected to that. So we really can't understand what the impasse is, that why DFI Planning will not allow Council to give the planning permission that they so rightly considered and approved over a year ago. have rolled up our sleeves, both parties, over the last year. We've worked closely with the department, particularly DFI Rivers. As Aaron has already said, they challenged the modelling. DFI Rivers did change their modelling on that, but unfortunately not enough to change their opinion on the planning application. The council doesn't understand what the complex issues are the department has alluded to. We've looked at the planning application for over a year. We've considered it in line with all planning policies. We've weighed all of that up, and the council's planning committee gave the determination to allow planning approval. So we just really are calling on the minister and the department to allow us to make that determination. They say that there's regional significance for this, but this is a scheme that's for Bangor. It's about Bangor and it's about the borough, and they just need to allow us to give the planning permission and for this vital regeneration scheme to go ahead. We do feel the frustrations that the people of Bangor feel as well. But I suppose ourselves, working with the developer, we decided that those conversations we were having with DFI Rivers and the department, we really wanted to give the department the opportunity, not in the public scrutiny, to have the conversations with us and also to hopefully come to the right decision and allow us to grant the planning permission. We have, though, been putting out messages as a council over the last year to try and keep the public up to date of where we are with those discussions. But sometimes it's not appropriate for us as the council to be the spokesperson. So Aaron, actually as the developer, gave a really, really good interview to the local paper before Christmas, and we know that went down really well. So sometimes when you don't hear the council speaking, it's because we're actually supporting other people to give the messages, and they're more appropriate to do that. Unfortunately, we believe we've exhausted all of our conversations with the officials. So the council and the developer have written to the Minister for the Department for Infrastructure, Nicola Mallon, calling on her to just allow the council to make its determination and give the planning approval. And that's really why we're here today. We're calling on the public to support us in that. We would ask you that you would write to the Minister asking her to allow the council to make its determination. This scheme is too important to Bangor and indeed the borough, and we need the developer to get the green form for planning and to be able to move and get on site and get this scheme developed.
We have lost significant momentum. We had everything primed and ready to go. We expected a decision to be made within a matter of weeks. It's now a year. So we have to restart, we have to rebuild that again. We'd be very, very confident we can do that. We have all the team in place, but it will take some time to build the momentum back into the scheme and to create the positive attitude that we had before, the positive position that we had before. What this means is a £50 million investment into Bangor. You know, we're talking about hundreds of jobs. We're talking about, 300-400 new people living in the centre of Bangor. We're talking about jobs in construction and in permanent jobs. We're talking vibrant, new, exciting hotel and more entertainment venues, that type of thing. So it's going to be a fantastic development when we get it kicked off. So of course our plans dovetail in brilliantly with the council's plans for the waterfront regeneration, which is a fantastic scheme. It'll really set Bangor apart from all others, and it'll be a very exciting place for both the residents and visitors alike. So really we just can't wait to get started.